In terms of Arsenal, though, we haven't really got into them yet. Like, how impressed were you with them on Sunday?
I knew we'd win. I said we'd win, and we won. It went exactly how I said it'd go. Trent would get smashed to pieces by my baller, Martinelli, who smashed him to pieces last year in a 3-1 loss, by the way. But I said he'd take him apart. I said we'd beat him. I thought we'd win 2-1. I said that if Van Dijk plays, I'm happy. I did also say if Noodles plays, then bring it on. And lo and behold, he scored, didn't he? And yeah, we deserve to win. Like, just because they had a lot of the ball, don't mean they've done anything with it. How many saves did our goalkeeper have to make? Like, I think one of the saves he had to make was from Saliba nearly putting in his own net. Like, other than that, what did they actually do? It's all well and good having tippy-tappy in and around midfield and having the whole midfield wide open for them and leaving Thomas Partey one against 3, which we did in the first half. It weren't exactly like they were peppering us. To be fair, before we scored the second goal, I was like, let's just get this to half-time. Yeah, because they were pushing us further and further and further back without really creating a lot. And then we scored and just totally killed them off in that half with the goal right at the very end. But then we came out in the second half and it was like, right, let's go again. And for 10 minutes, like literally, we looked like we were going to score next. And then Martin Odegaard, we need to have a serious conversation about this guy. Yeah, we're coming to the Bozo Gene centre back in a minute, Terry. Yeah, because Martin Odegaard, if you go back and watch that goal for Firmino, the second equaliser, what is he doing? He's literally like one of my haters on the concourse, jumping up and down, pavement mopping. Yeah, it's just like this in midfield. Henderson's over here. He's in the centre circle. Henderson's in the centre circle, 10 foot away. He's just jumping up and down like this. Go and watch it back. And then Henderson walks straight into midfield, passes the ball to Jota. Saliba absolutely had a brain fart, come running out, goal. Just like that. If Odegaard had gone and pressed Henderson, he wouldn't have passed to Jota. Yeah, if you go back and have a look at it, trust me, I'm standing there going, what's he doing? Is he going to press? And then when the ball went to Jota, yeah, he was jogging. He was jogging back. That guy is not good enough for this club. I've been telling everyone, and eventually people will see it. Let's come to the second guy that I want to dig out. This centre half that we've got, Gabriel Magalhaes. He needs binning. Like, real quick. He is a liability, mate. Absolute liability, that guy. And if you look at the goal that they scored with Noodles, what is he doing? He's literally trying to kick it over his head, missed it. Diaz goes in, and then Saliba's got a predicament. Does he stay with Núñez on the penalty spot, or does he go out and close down the danger of the cross coming into him? But if he does that, he's going to leave him wide open on the penalty spot. Hopefully, he's going to block, so he run out to him. By which time, Gabriel didn't smell the danger quick enough and didn't get back to Noodles quick enough, and he scored. That was all because that idiot can't defend properly, right? And he's done it multiple times, Terry. He could have given a penalty away. Yeah, I don't think it was a penalty. It bounced off his chest, but I could understand if it was given. His hand's up here. His hand was up here against Palace on the first day of the season. He gave a stupidness away against Tottenham last week. Against Fulham, he cocked up against Mitrovic. I could go back into last season. Yeah, he should have been sent off at Old Trafford. Yeah, for 2 yellows, and he only got 1 when Marcus Rashford and Greenwood, maybe it was the year before, Marcus Rashford and Greenwood spun him. Yeah, I could go to the game against Southampton where Theo Walcott spun him and scored. Like, this guy has just not got it. Yeah, and we need better. We need better. Other than that, I thought they were all superb.
Listen, I thought Odegaard had a good pass to the goal. I thought he had a bit of a meek game. I thought he was a little bit soft in the challenges and in the competitive side. That I agree with, but I think overall, I think Odegaard's been really good and he's been really important to your system. I'm very intrigued to see.
In what way, though, Terry?
Well, I think
he looks aesthetically pleasing on the eye and does just enough aesthetically.
I think
he does. He just does.
I'll answer, Lee. I'll answer.
To get a 7 out of 10.
No, I'll answer. I think he does. I think he does look aesthetically pleasing, as you say, but I also think he's very important for the flow of the game. However, there are still areas for him to improve on outputs, and then in those bigger games where you're up against tough opponents, he needs to go to another level, no doubt. On Gabriel, though, I'm going to be exaggerating here, but I feel like he's been responsible for at least 50 to 60% of your goals this season, whether it's being caught in possession, giving away penalties, whether it's been like actual defensive mistakes. And like, I always make a joke about this, that this is why Mikel Arteta wanted Lisandro Martinez. And maybe he was wanted as a left back. But I'm telling you now, if you had Lisandro Martinez next to Saliba, you'd be even clearer at the top in terms of you'd have more.
We probably would have beaten United.
Might have beaten United. I'm being serious. Like Gabriel, he was good last year. There's no doubt he was good, but he looked so poor this year, and I don't quite know what Arteta's got to do, because the rest of all your centre backs are right. Like you've got Ben White. Maybe Ben White can come back in. Tomiyasu plays at right back. Maybe you play Tomiyasu in that position. Give him a go, because at some point, like Gabriel, like you're probably going to be okay to make top four with Gabriel playing. But Arsenal are in a position where if you maintain this form all this season, and you just miss out on a title, the only expectation next year is to challenge again. And a player like that, leaking that many goals, will always stop you from winning league titles, and will always stop you from winning the major trophies.
Players will, Terry.
A long time. He needs to fix up Gabriel big time. He really does.
Terry, he done it against Wolves as well. I've just listed 7-8 games that he's done it. Like, the guy ain't good enough. Yeah, and like there's people in the chat saying that Odegaard covers more ground. Big up Gunnar King. I couldn't care less how much ground he's covering. He's 7 yards out, and my daughter could kick a ball harder. It's an open goal. Like, come on. Yeah, what's stopping him pressing? He's our club captain, and he has been hooked off against Tottenham and Man United in the second half of the games. Let that sink in. Would Vieira get hooked off? He wouldn't, would he? Like, come on. We need better than both of them. If we want to go on and actually win a title, we need better than both of them. Them two are not good enough, mate. Right? And at the moment, yeah, we're getting away with it because we've got good performers all over the rest of the park. Yeah, so Odegaard, it doesn't matter so much. It doesn't matter so much with Gabriel because the forwards are making up for it. Yeah, and mate, there's been a lot of times. Look at the game against you lot at Old Trafford when he two-footed Bruno, and then Anthony scored. It was him rushing out of defence to leave his spot on the left of defence, to rush over to the right of defence and run 20 yards in front and two-foot him. Why?
Well,
which then meant that Zinchenko had to come further over, which meant Anthony scored.
No, mate, listen, I agree. He has been accountable for a lot of Arsenal's goals this year, and I think that it may need to be. It's interesting because if you would have dropped points in more of these games, if you wouldn't have got the goal back against Fulham and you dropped points, if, for instance, the mistake this weekend cost you and you didn't beat Liverpool, I think more Arsenal fans would talk about it. And I understand that when you're winning, it's almost like, because I saw this happened the other day. I think Jess criticized just during the game, tweeted something about Odegaard needs to do better, and she was bombarded with people kicking off. We won. Just be positive. And it's a little bit like, come on now, like just you can be happy with your team winning and still call out the little areas of improvement that need to happen. That's existed in football since I can remember. Even when my team won a treble, you know, I was still like, we could have done this better. I remember we won the Champions League final, and I was at school the next day talking about it. Oh, well done. I'm like, yeah.
Mate, the other day, Terry, we beat.
A little bit more convincing in the game, though. Like, I still want better performances from people, even if my team's winning. So I don't think Arsenal fans should just rest on their laurels and say we're winning. There's nothing to be.
No, but this is what they do, Terry. Terry, this is what they do, which is why I just sit and say what I want to say. Because if I said I'm Arteta in, well, there's going to be a group of people that say, well, you're a dickhead, should be Arteta out. If I say I'm Arteta out, well, you're a dickhead, you should be Arteta in. Yeah, you're never going to please everybody. So how about just be you and say what you want to say? Yeah, I genuinely sit there and I've called out that Odegaard for time. I've called out Gabriel all season and the back end, probably from maybe before Christmas last season. So maybe a whole calendar year, I've been calling out this Gabriel being an issue, right? But whilst it's going well, let's just brush that under the carpet. A little bit like Liverpool fans with FSG. But now, when it all goes wrong, it'll be Gabriel's an issue. Get Odegaard off, put Vieira in there, do that. No, you've got to call that out whilst you're doing and getting away with it. Yeah, because then that keeps the standards up. Instead of just sitting there going, oh, well, he got an assist in the first minute. That's all he did. Where was he for the rest of the game? Yeah. Oh, yeah, but Gabriel, yeah, he's in the team because he's the one that's going to be more physical and Saliba's better on the ball. I don't care.
Yeah,
Go
I do
and
get
get a
that. I do
better
get that with
centre-back.
Odegaard, though. I do get that with Odegaard, and I didn't think he had a great game against Liverpool. But generally speaking, for Arsenal, for at least the last 9 months to a year, Odegaard's been pretty good, pretty consistent, and been
On what?
integral to the way your team plays.
On what? Odegaard, by the way, was captain for the last 3 games of last season, which we bottled.
Right? And
Right?
he and everybody else criticized for
Okay,
that.
now tell me the great performances.
But so
Listen,
the
there's
rest.
loads
Hang
of
on
them,
a minute,
mate.
hang on a minute, though. But so are the other players that you're praising. So if, for instance, you think about Martinelli, think about Saka as an example. Okay,
Yep.
Partey's recently started playing better. Loads of your players in the last year, 2 years have had moments and periods where they weren't playing well, because that's why you weren't making it. That's why you haven't been in the top 4 for 3 years. So you've had lots of players that have been
6 years.
inconsistent in places. But as you've improved, for me watching, I've seen him lead your team. I've seen him this points it out here. Like, he's one of the main guys that presses within your team. He keeps.
Well, he didn't press for Henderson when he passed it to Jota, and then
you are right that he didn't have a good game against Liverpool. But that for me, the way he performed against Liverpool was abnormal compared to the majority of his performances.
Tell me what he does, please, because you're just sitting there saying the complete opposite of what I just said. You just said that's abnormal for Odegaard. Please tell me. You just said about 9 months of Odegaard, yeah? Tell me what that guy's done in 9 months to elevate Arsenal. Please do. Please do tell me.
First of all, so I think he is. First of all, it's the way he helps to lead your team. So
in what way? He's not vocal one bit.
Lee, I'm going to do what Andrew
Tate
did.
I'll mute myself. Go on, Terry. Let's hear it.
He's going to mute himself. So he's the leader of the team. So he is helping to galvanize a very young and inexperienced team. So first and foremost, that's a hard thing to do, but the improvements at Arsenal are palpable, and he has led a lot of that on the pitch. So you've got the personal skills, the soft fact skills behind the scenes. That's number one. Secondly, he's integral to the way that you press. And where you become better over the last 12 months in your press is that you're not doing it sporadically. Arsenal, like Man United when we were failing, your team would press at the wrong times. It wasn't coordinated. You were easy to then pass through, as an example. So he is one of the leaders in making you good at doing that. Also, you've got your flow of play, how you move the ball. He's an integral part. He's at the center. He is involved in the majority of the triangles needed to create the opportunities to feed the balls into areas of the pitch and the territories to create chances. So that flow. Now, you're someone yourself who talks about stats not always being overly important. Odegaard needs to score more when he's at goal-scoring opportunities, but he is the person who will thread the ball into a danger zone to allow someone like Odegaard to dribble at a player to create the chance for you to score, as an example. Those 3 things are absolutely key. Keeping that tempo, keeping that flow is important. The press side of things, and of course, leading your team. However, where you're right is there are areas of improvements that he needs to make better. I thought his physical one-on-one battles against Liverpool, he was poor in. But that doesn't mean he can't become better at doing that. Does he make mistakes? Yes. Has he missed chances? Of course he has. But you could, if you went and looked at it, you could probably, if you searched Thierry Henry missing sitters, you could probably find a compilation of goals that he should have scored that he didn't. And that was the greatest goal scorer. No. Because what you're doing here, you're going to twist it. If the greatest goal scorer in Premier League history could miss easy chances, it's acceptable for someone who isn't considered a great goal scorer and that isn't in your team to be a great goal scorer to miss chances. So I think what you're doing is you're looking at some of the poor elements of his game and you're making that universal and say that is what defines him. And I think Odegaard has been massively improved. All the things that you say players like Bruno don't do, what's he doing if he isn't scoring and assisting? That's what Odegaard does. I'm not saying he's the complete player. I'm not saying he's world class. I'm not saying he's the best midfielder in the league, but I think he's been hugely integral to the improvements at Arsenal that see you top of the league, clear of the team that are predicted to go and win it, and the mass improvements. So I agree with a large amount of your points, but I think you're making too much of a sweeping statement saying that defines him and he needs to go. I think it's more he needs to improve in a few areas, but maintain the things that he's brilliant at.